In this video, we're going to do homework 7.2, question number 7. We're asked to multiply or divide as indicated. We're doing multiplication, and then make sure that we reduce our answer to lowest terms. In other words, simplify. Look for those secret times ones. We're going to do this on a separate piece of paper. Here's our problem. Now again, how do we multiply fractions? We multiply them straight across. That amounts to putting a big old fraction bar symbol there, a big division symbol there, and putting parentheses around everything that has terms. And then we would end up wanting to factor each one of these components. I think it's very helpful when you know what your strategy is to allow yourself to compartmentalize your thinking. And so since I know that I'm going to have to factor everything, I'm going to just look at each piece, each numerator and each denominator, and factor it separately. So I'm just going to make a little bit of scratch here. And this is just an optional strategy to help myself not look at too much of the problem at once. So I'm just going to factor yellow. Here's yellow. 2x squared plus 6x minus 8. Before I jump in and say that 2x squared came from a 2x times an x, remember to look for a GCF. 2, 6, and 8 all have a 2 in them. So I'm going to go ahead and factor out that 2. 2 times x squared plus 3x minus 4, taking out that GCF, and now I'm going to factor this piece further, and that's a game that I love playing. X times x gives me x squared, and now I'm looking for two numbers that multiply together to give me -4 and add up to 3. I know one's positive and one's negative because they multiply together to give me a negative, and I know the larger number is positive because they add up to a positive. In this case, it's x minus 1 times x plus 4. Minus 1 times 4 is minus 4, and minus 1 plus 4 is positive 3. So yellow is equal to yellow. Okay, so that's that little piece. Let's go ahead and do the denominator of this fraction. How about green? Again, we have a GCF here of 4. I'm just going to copy it down. 4x squared plus 4x minus 48. They both have a 4 in them. Or sorry, not both. All three terms have a 4 in them. 4 times a minus 12 gives me minus 48. Okay, so now I am looking, because my leading coefficient right here is a 1, I'm looking for two things that multiply together to give me -12 and add up to +1. We got 1x right there. And a -3 times a +4 will give me -12, and a -3 plus 4 will give me the 1x. Beautiful. Oops, but our color was green. Green. Right? Now on the second fraction, again, this numerator has a GCF of 2. We got 2x squared minus 14x plus 24, factoring out a 2. X times x gives me x squared, and I'm looking for two numbers that multiply together to give me +12 and add up to -7. Because they multiply together to give me a positive, I know that their sign is the same, and since they add up to be a negative, I know that they're both negative. And a minus 3 times a minus 4 gives me positive 12, and a minus 3 plus a minus 4 gives me that minus 7. So pink is equal to pink. And then my denominator here, leading coefficient is a 1. Minus 5x. I'm looking for two numbers that multiply together to give me positive 4 and add up to negative 5. Again, they're both going to be negative because they multiply together to give me a positive, but they add up to give me a negative amount. And in this case, it's minus 1 times a minus 4 gives me positive 4, and minus 1 plus 4 gives me negative 5. So orange is orange. Right? So now we're going to go ahead and multiply fractions straight across. We're going to do yellow times pink all over green times orange. But I'm going to have them in this factored form. Since everything will be factored completely, I'll be able to look for my secret times ones. Multiplying straight across. Yellow. And I think I'm going to emphasize the multiplication. Yellow is those three objects multiplied together, times pink is these three objects multiplied together, two times the quantity x minus 3 times the quantity x minus 4, all divided by green times orange. Green, 4 times the quantity x minus 3 times the quantity x plus 4. And orange, x minus 1 times x minus 4. Those two objects multiplied together. I'm just going to copy this again so we can have different colors on the next step. Okay. Since everything is factored, I'm allowed to come and acknowledge these secret times ones. All right, so I see an x minus 1, it's a different color, factor in the numerator and an x minus 1 factor in the denominator. That's a secret times 1. If you wanted to take the time to rearrange everything, because order doesn't matter in multiplication, so that you could see the times 1 like we did right here, allowing me to really emphasize why this is true, you're welcome to do so. But I feel like here we're comfortable. This is a little times 1 right there. We also have a x plus 4 factor in the numerator. Don't want to count. And an x plus 4 factor in the denominator. That's a little times 1. We have a x minus 3 factor in the numerator and in the denominator. That's a little times 1. And we've got an x minus 4 factor in the numerator and the denominator, another times 1. What's left in the numerator is 2 times 2, and in the denominator is 4. Oh my goodness. We have 4/4, which is 1. This answer ended up just being 1. And if you were being, for a future math class, if you were keeping track of those domain restrictions, those places where you were dividing by 0, you'd make a little note to the reader that x can't be 3, because here I'd have a division by 0. X can't be minus 4. Oops, and I said can't. Boop, not equal. X can't be positive 1, because I'd have a 0 in the denominator there. and x can't be positive 4 either. Right? And an equal sign with a line through it means not equal. All right? But for the purpose of this homework assignment, all we need to do is input 1 into our computer and see that we are correct. So I don't need that little yellow arrow. I can just put a 1, hit submit, and beautiful. We've got it done correctly. I hope this is helpful. In the next video, we're going to do question number 8.